Hello, lovely people, golden ones, shining ones, infinite ones, and everything in between. My name is Angela Miller, and this is Concordia Consularis with Concordia Spiritual Activation. So last week, I was meant to bring you a recording from our UK clearing series. And this is a series that was targeted at the ancestors here who are in complete disarray. And in these sort of changing times here, it's really interesting to observe the anomalies that take place with the interaction with Africa. So the things that I focused on, basically the recording went wrong. But in that spiritual court of equity, it was my view to bring and deal with those who disrespect all human life fragments in all forms. And that could mean through behavior, through institutional operation. It could be something else around that whole scenario, because only the individual soul will know if they act, or the spirit will know, or the body will know, or your immediate environment will let you know if and what and how that will manifest. So there was a specific focus with taking that approach, because here we're dealing with individuals that make up lineages that are inherently or being directed to creating further problems in other regions on Earth. So how do you integrate that? This is where we went into, how do you integrate all of that into one session? No wonder the sound went funny. So today we're going to carry on with spiritual courts of equity in Africa. I'm joined by Harrison and Derek, but I just wanted to take this out there and let you know what has been going on over here. It hasn't been pretty. There are core stubborn areas, but we are all going to gradually illuminate this bit one by one. So last time in the recording that I didn't get to bring to you, it went through pretty smoothly. And this one today with Harrison and Derek, we are going to be looking at the original agreements between the star elders and the faction and control groups here on the planet that are still moving within the areas of control and manifesting it and causing suffering and general mayhem like we've known it on the planet for quite some time now. So yeah, those who disrespect the human life in all fragments, and this will span out into areas such as transhumanism, false experimentation. I'm not going to say false light experimentation on the soul, on cultures, on the groups. And this is something that we're faced with every single spiritual court of equity. We aim to expand it out, the clearings out to all members of particular cultures. So everybody has the potential to receive some sort of clearing that is relevant to their individual growth. So those that do not respect human life, especially in Africa, I would like to extend that into the spiritual court of equity today. So hello, everyone.
Hi, Angela. How are you doing?
Yeah. Hello, Angela. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Good. Busy as always with these theories. And I'm just about to open up a new podcast for women called Women's Work International, where we will be rolling out a program to help individuals overcome their birth trauma so that they don't pass it through to the next 7 generations. And the flagship center will be in Mexico. And we aim to bring good health and well-being through every stage of life for a woman. including liberation from patriarchal system, etc., etc. And I don't mean that in an overtly feminist way. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm just going on, getting ready for the next podcast, so do apologise for that. Let's focus today. So you guys are on the ground in Africa and have been experiencing a lot of system carnage and change, I believe. What are your observations?
Harrison, you go first.
Yeah, let me go first. I think most of this control comes through the government, where they implement agendas. They tend to show that they are helping people, but most of these agendas are aligned with Western nation or what the Western nation are pushing for. And also it comes via this international financial organization like IMF and World Bank. And when you follow the way all that process goes, it all comes to where the people who are in Africa, they don't have their sovereignty to do things that will benefit them financially or other ways that they can grow economically. And they are always at the bottom, and the other nations, they continue to grow exponentially and at the expense of those people here who are here in Africa, you know.
Yeah, agreed. And that is the MO for the system of domination and control, to do that throughout the whole world. I recommend a document to everybody. I'm going to include it in the description below. It is the Ministry of Defence Futures Future Imagination document, and basically it highlights all trajectories of control for the next 50 years, and it's actually very telling, because you can see what the plan, the colonial control, the domination control plan is to basically suppress further and take more. Now, this goes across the board. It's not just with Africa, because what people don't realise is that in the UK, it's happening, but in a very different way. There's much more of a cruel, insidious establishment flavour about it. And just even being here and observing what is happening within an apparent first world culture is rapidly turning into, let's just say, something that the people here aren't quite used to, but they are in a way, because they've been fighting for thousands of years. And, you know, that causes impacts, most definitely, of a very deep kind. So in Africa, we've had focus on Rwanda as well, haven't we? With yes. Boris and all the lovely G7 representatives having a nice meeting and talking about what's really good for Africa. You can always, when you look at them in that context, surprising that they got there.
I think they were just coming to show that, you know, there's this media kind of thing they portray to every single person, but what happens behind the scene is totally different. And I think that's why they organized it to come to Rwanda, because there's something going on with that country, or they want to implement something, given that they are also talking of bringing immigrants to that country. So it was a kind of way to maybe act as a sweetener or something. But you know, what happens behind the scene is much worse than what we are shown on television and other things. Yeah.
Well, it's of my understanding, they've already had the genocide in Rwanda, and they said it's over, but it actually isn't over. The mere fact that the country's being revisited by politicians, dignitaries from other nations is right in your face. This hasn't ended, and they've got a plan to carry on, and it's everything is worse than expected. When they put on a good face, you know that there's stuff going on underground.
Exactly. And that is exactly where we're going today. In many ways. So, it's just quite interesting how the things from the earlier episodes are now opening up and going to a deeper level. This is really fascinating because we did focus on Rwanda, Tanzania in the early days with the witchcraftery and albino abductions and so on, and the use of rituals. And when you look back, actually, from this moment now to that time then, the energy in Africa is really very different. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they are different. And what's actually happening is from the top of Africa, Cairo, call it, all the way down to the bottom of Africa, Cape Town. You can see the governments putting on a good face, saying they're doing everything for their good citizens. But in the meantime, they are clamping down on everything, tightening their grip, because underneath it all, they've lost control.
So they're scrabbling.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm noticing is that many youth in Africa, because I think more than 50% of Africans are youth, they are tired of the political system that's happening, and they want that change because these guys have been educated. They have seen what's happening. They have seen all the whiteization of everything that's happening around here. And some of them are going back to their own roots and doing their own investigations, given that we're in the age of internet and all that. So they're able to see what's happening on the ground and what's apparent in terms of politics and the policies that are implemented by these politicians. The youth don't want anything to do with that, unless those who are supporting are those who are benefiting directly from that. But a huge chunk of them, they don't want what's being implemented.
Right, I really feel that from across the ethers. There's been a sort of, since we opened this, there's been a little woo. But then I felt the power of the youth of Africa, and that was just amazing and beautiful. So what we will do is invite into the spiritual port of equity. We're going to invite all young Africans who want change, unity and peace, as well as one Africa. Now, how does that energy feel to you?
A united Africa, everybody living in peace, feels fantastic, beyond fantastic.
Right?
Yeah, I was speaking on that kind of peaceful energy flowing, and I don't know, it's something that's on the side I'm also picking. It's like the agenda is to fractalize Africans more, given the agendas that they are trying to implement. I think as we are integrating this piece, there's also that aspect that's trying to, enter the space or something.
It's beautiful. They're ripe. They're ready. They want change. They want action.
I want to actually add in here, which most people forget. Africa is a continent with incredible, amazing wildlife. We know that how the rhinos have been hunted for their horns. In South Africa, they're busy sending lion bones to the Far East, which is being ground into medicine. So the unknown factor is here. We're talking about Africa, and one tends to just think about mankind, but the animals have had enough as well. And they are assisting the African continent to change for more land, to be given back to them, to live on freely, with no fear. And I mean, to use the word revenge, they are starting to get their revenge back for what has actually taken place, for the complete slaughter of animals throughout the whole continent. You know, this is also, one forgets how powerful it is that we've got the animals on our side too.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And that's true solidarity, all species, all kinds.
yeah.
So I think, Angela, sorry to butt in, Harrison, tonight, the animals have joined the court of equity as well.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, that's excellent. Because what was coming to me is that during colonization, they mapped these world games and world reserve areas. And what happened is that these guys did a huge research on these lands, and they discovered there are a lot of natural resources in these lands, like oil, gold, and such. And to be able to preserve it for a future use that they want to access now, they designated these areas as game reserves and wildlife kind of an infrastructure to make sure that Africans don't go into these lands or invest or do any research on those lands in the name of wildlife conservancy, but behind the scenes they were doing all those things, you know.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we are with this spiritual court of equity. So over the eons, many groups and factions have come and raided the continent of Africa. Now, Africa to me represents a part of the old Southern Atlantean enclaves. Okay, so, you know, we're going way back here. So in those moments, I'm just casting my sight back across that consciousness. And I'm asking for all the star elders who were present, all the tribal elders that were present in those times where freedom was given away, or there were negotiations, contracts, agreements, vows, promises, any type of energy, contractual bind to the outcome of the people today. There's some that did deals with the French in recent history in here. They stand out first to me because they're the nearest. So we've got a general array of different types of people throughout different periods in time. Now, all those who negatively added codices and changes and contract hidden things where they just superimpose it with something else, hoping that nobody would notice. Right, so there's a huge contract coming into view here, but I just want to bring the originators, all parties, in to make sure they're in the spiritual court of equity and open to discussion on these agreements that took part in various different times. They could have been anything to do with selling off, trafficking, goods, animals, beings, resources, humans.
I would just like to add to bring in the planners as well of all of this.
Yes. Yes, and in this moment, but just because this thread, and it's these little threads that bring the bigger picture together. So we're just going to tie in and bring in those from, not tie-in's the wrong word, slang again. Bring in those that attended the G7 summit in Rwanda, making shady backhand deals probably with Chatham House rules. There is great discomfort in those quarters, I can tell you. So, right, so the original star elders and ancestors from inner earth.
What I pick up, the original contract signed through Chatham House has been burned, and that's why they were in Rwanda to draw up the new contract.
Right. So let's just bring the new contract into view. The first part already, the first quarter of this document or energetic document or data packet, whatever you want to call it, is completely been superimposed already.
Well,
Funny,
their plan is starting off in Rwanda to open up cells of people. So that would be the people coming from the Ukraine. And as I mentioned in the last session that we did, these people coming in, who are they the front for? What cells are they working for? What will they be targeting? So this is a big plan that they're putting into action.
Absolutely. So what we would like is the original being that put that trajectory of plans into action. Have you got a read on that? It's a funny energy. They don't really want to talk about it very much, but this is where there is gold.
I don't know if it's the same being I'm picking, but it's quite ancient, but it has a footprint current on Earth. It's like there's a physical incarnation of that being right now. Yeah.
It is very, yeah, it is, you know, it's caked in all the things that this being has done. It's there, it's present, it's not going. So let's just ask this being, do we have a name? Anybody get a name?
I'm not getting a name, but I'm getting he's not a guy who comes on screen a lot, but he is the key figure behind the entire structure. He's the one who it's like he's the think tank for, you know, for these guys. These guys who are on the screen, they just parrot what this dude does. You know?
So I'm just going to examine this think tank. I love a think tank. Not many people know.
What I will add, I don't know who this person is per se. However, I pick up strong artificial intelligence involvement here.
Yeah, which basically in the last Spiritual Court of Equity UK, which I didn't broadcast, that's exactly where we were going, is this disrespect and hatred of human life, because that's what we're talking about. Because this is hatred. This is absolutely not caring or having any sense of deep humane compassion in our species. So they're not quite mammals. They don't have mammalian hormones, I'm sure. So I'm just going to tell this chappie, he is part of a group Sareus 1, which basically are a Sirius offshoot. What went wrong with the Syrian and the Dogons? This is what it boils down to. That's what I want to know. Why did it go wrong? I knew it. Otherwise, there'd be a different outcome. So what went wrong? Go on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the Syrian soul stopped incarnating in the doggone lineage. You know, those guys who had huge cranial kind of a head. And
I'll tell you what went wrong. What went wrong with what is common throughout the history of what's gone on planet Earth is that they made promises, and true to their word, they weren't kept. So the Dogon nation as a whole opted to not carry on with them because whatever they were promised never materialized. It's quite simple.
That, what you've just picked up on, is exactly it. Now, this is the core of the MO of the system of domination and control. Promises are broken every time, never delivered upon. And there are many light workers who are experiencing this to date. It's fascinating. Same program in the light body technology. So, okay, so Mr. Soraeus one, Dogon Syrian chap, what are you going to do about it? Look at your people, and you sold Africa out as well, and its inhabitants through your knowledge, practices, rituals, procedures, occult procedures, whatever it might be. Let's just open it all up and have a look. Also at your think tank. So the data in the think tank is very interesting to me. But here is the culmination of ideas and thoughts. And it belongs to, it has 7 inputs into it, who are G7, who are regularly inputting and feeding in through that. So the think tank is actually a whole big alchemical mess that messes with the mind, creates programs. So, and when you look at it in this way, because we're not looking at this in the 3D, I'm looking at a blackboard kind of way, we're reading metaphorical data that has been left behind as a signature residue of this cause and effect that already took place in the universe. That's what I'm trying to express here as well with that, is that this is not conventional data. You will not get it anywhere else unless they can do this, which there are a few that can. So I'm going to ask them to and show them that the agreements that affect millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of others is going to be cleared. I'm sure you guys would want that. I'm sure anyone with an African heritage or love of the country would want that, including the young generation that are hungry for peaceful unity and change.
Well, as I mentioned earlier on, we've got the feline races off planet, the cat races.
Mm-hmm.
We've got their representatives, the animal representatives, which have got a bigger part to play than we could imagine in this court of equity. And they have all stamped their sign of approval, and it is stamped, signed, and sealed. So it's not just dealing with humanity anymore on the African continent. It's dealing with the representatives now of all animal species.
Brilliant. That is just wonderful. Now, I'm just going to cast my eye specifically to Sirius B and Sirius A. Now, why? Who was it? Who sold their lineage to the reptilian of Draco and started experimenting on Syrians? and agreed to let Syrian people be experimented upon. Just going to bring them forward. Sorry, it gets a bit weird at this time for me recording. I just chase my tail. And there are some that are key and responsible in this. So I'm just going to bring in the elders of, what do you call it? Draconis Prime. Elders from there, elders from Syria, A and B.
And the Orion system, we've got the Orion system here as well.
This is turning out to be a council job. So what do you think? What do you think about this, guys? Where did it go wrong for these people who have made agreements on behalf of all to bring those races with DNA that wasn't quite going to work here in this time frame? What went wrong?
What went wrong was the experiment.
Yeah, who made that decision? Who encouraged that? I mean, really, they must have been believing any old rubbish at the time. Them as well.
I don't know if this is what I'm getting, because I can see, I know you guys have have seen the image of the sun rising, the way it glows in the yellow color or the golden color. You know, it's like they were trying to create a new kind of a universe or something to be able to be the controllers of it. And given that when they were making these decisions, it was like that period when free will had been given to this universe, and they thought they could become, you know, these super creator beings and mess what the founder beings or the prime creator had already installed in place. You know, they were trying to recreate what had already been created, and the idea was they wanted to take everything over and for them to become the gods to the new creation that they had in mind.
I reckon that they thought they were a bit clever.
No, well, we've also got to consider the fact that we're living at the end of a grand 26,000 plus minus year cycle, and that we're in the middle of the photon belt. New energies are coming through onto the earth, high photonic energies, raising the vibrational frequencies. People, star seeds have incarnated onto the earth to lift and upgrade her electromagnetic field and vibrational frequency. People are ascending. So these contracts that they are wanting to sign in Rwanda, it's a absolute waste of time. They don't know it. They don't understand it. They'll try and execute their plan, but nothing will work out, because these are plans that aren't for the better of humanity as a whole. It's service to self groups, and it will fizzle out and fail in the end. We are in an ascension cycle. People are pushing forward to the ascension. The governments all over are scrambling, as I mentioned earlier, to retain power at all costs, and it's going to fail. And well, it's not going to succeed, but they are not in the zone to understand it, as they are being controlled by artificial intelligence on the earth and beyond. We've also got to take into consideration that one or two of the so-called dignitaries at these meetings, they're not even human. You're dealing with clones, you're dealing with robots. it's really quite crazy. What do you say, Angela?
I just think it's all mad, really. It's crazy. But, you know, look, with all of it, none of what you say surprises me. It really doesn't. I'm, you know, and this is the nature of what I've been working with, in particular with the spiritual course of equity for the last 13 years. You witness the most depraved actions done by shadow human or shadow group, whoever they are, that hasn't behaved decently or to their fullest sacred perspective in earth dealings today, you know, and there is nothing, you know, it doesn't surprise me. I did not expect the enormity of the transhumanist agenda to roll out in this way, but I kind of did, because I wouldn't have been trained in specific removal elements. Now, I will mention this, if there is, and I keep saying this for some reason, if there is 0.1 part of a fragment of an individual that is being hijacked for the use of the AI systems or whatever hubs they have, whatever frameworks that they have or they need to power, we can save that shard. Any less than that, and it's really, you know, tricky to save that part of an individual if they want it, you know, because this is the tricky element. It is a free will universe, and regardless of where that individual is coming from, that choice is their free will.
Yeah, so we get back to Rwanda. So once again, we need to ask ourselves, why on earth do they want to relocate people from Eastern Europe all the way to Rwanda?
Yeah.
But they're trying to crack a deal, or they've cracked a deal on paper, which we know that's going to fail, is to take these people and they are going to be used as to be experimented on with ET and animal species as well. And this is why the animal representatives from different planets, off planet, are very concerned, and they've made themselves known at this meeting that we're doing with the court today.
Okay, so this is absolutely on point and very current, because if there is this intent and plan and operation for the next wave of experimentation, tomorrow is the day that they're going to fire up Cern to a new level.
Exactly. And then just one other point I want to make. If these Ukrainians are experimented on with artificial intelligence, then they basically sleeper cells. What happens when they get switched on? And I know Cern's is being activated tomorrow. The 5th of July, 2022 is the day they've chosen to activate it, because there's high vibrational frequency energy available tomorrow, and that's the reason why.
So into the spiritual court of equity, I'm just bringing in the creators of all Cerns and all Time Lords who are responsible, not irresponsible. You know, some of them I know. It's like, oh, having a crack at that one, are you?
I'm getting there are some good guys at Cern, the scientists. They think they are doing humanity a service by doing this. But there are these families who are controlling Cern, where it's linked to the 15 multidimensional beings. And I think the information that's out there is that they are very cautious, even if they are gonna fire it, because already there's a threat that has been issued from other beings that if you're gonna mess their agenda using Cern, it's gonna be physically attacked. So they are trending on a thin line. You
They
know, they
are.
can
Yeah, I also ask you, everything's inverted on the earth. So we're all led to the impression that they're going to be opening up a portal. I'm not saying that that's not true, but I'd like to also, one sort of wonders to oneself, what are they intending to close at the same time?
Because they don't know what they're messing with, apparently, but they do. They know exactly what they're going to do to bring in a frequency, a takeover frequency for Africa, the rest of the world, and other areas of the universe, and manifest using the Earth frequency here. Well, what does the soul of Mother Earth have to say about that? What does Earth's grandma have to say about that?
Well, the Earth knows exactly what's taking place on her surface. She will allow things to go a certain way, but she will also react in a certain way. So depending on how the experiment's going, because it is an experiment per se at Cern, depends on her full reaction. Then she also is incorporating the different elements. So when you take all the elements into consideration that do fall underneath her banner, it's much larger than one would actually expect. So in order to open up a portal through Cern, then you've got to have people placed at various places. So you wonder, a portal to where? And with whom are they actually working? Unfortunately, we are well aware that what they'll probably be, you think, oh, dark demons will come through a Cern, but it's probably humanoids that have been taken over by artificial intelligence, like Borgs and robots, more likely.
Well, I'm pleased to say that the ball is off this planet.
Maybe they want to bring them back.
No, that's not something I want. And if it is, that's okay, because you know what? What people do not realize is that we can remove that stuff very easily with just a thought. So we give so much power and credence to these groups that literally pump out fear into the psyche of human, but actually they're a little fragment. We have multiversal teams who can just take them out just like that. And you know what? We do not, in that situation, there's very little to rescue. It will literally be taken out just like that, right at the connecting source. You know, the plan is greater than what we might think in this moment, I must say. There is a sort of gathering, this hub gathering of across all these systems, all these Cern systems reach out into other areas, hence the interest of going to Mars, other planetary elements, other planetary energies are being utilized in this frequency under the guise of Earth as well. So I know that she is not playing ball. Mother Earth and her soul say nil. Grandmother, she's just waiting. She's waiting, as she does patiently. They will not allow her to harness, allow them to harness the frequency. So sidling into the spiritual court of equity, at a sideways march, I'm just bringing forward the 15.
Very good. We need them here today.
I'll just explain to them with or without them. It's beyond them. Yes, they had time and eons to plan, while humanity wore a blanket, a veil, not to be seen through. So how many of the 15 are prepared to undo what they've done now in this moment of resolution?
How many do you get?
7. Usually rolls like that. The first 7 are like, yeah, whatever, we'll do it, da, 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 you know, there's less resistance. The final 3, trickier. Anyway, so anything, I'm just going to highlight here, anything that they've been involved with in operations, manifest, plans, all departments, sales, human flesh targets, that kind of thing. This is like really, when you go into the minute program, the crime, as it were, or the thing, the misdoing against our natural way of being.
I mean, it makes you think. I mean, they've just had this whole get together in Rwanda. Tomorrow they're opening up Cern. There's got to be a connection there.
There is. There absolutely is. You've got pharmaceutical companies itching to open up there, right? This new layer of technology company right in the beautiful infrastructure of Rwanda, its colonial infrastructure.
Yeah,
And all the
given that,
sacred around it.
yeah, Rwanda has been working quite significantly to improve their artificial intelligence and technological advancement. And given during the COVID period, they were using robots to, I don't know, to bring medicine to people, to minimize congregation of people. And they were hailing it as one of the best decisions, but knowing what goes with allowing or integrating or allowing artificial intelligence to control a huge chunk of your life, what it will end up to us, I don't think the citizens want that, but these leaders, this is what they wanted to push, that as a test subject so that they can implement that idea the rest of the continent.
Yeah. Basically, what structures and infrastructures of a computerized kind need are hubs and data banks and points of coalescence. And this can be done in a number of ways. It can be done via your normal hardware networks. It could be completely built out of an etheric network, which is the ones are the networks that the human eye aren't ready to see yet. So whatever you see engaged and manifest forth in 3D reality has an etheric origin somewhere else. Now, where is that point of origin or points of origin that anchor through in this universe to Earth in Rwanda? And as I'm saying this, sometimes people who are watching might think, oh, there's a silence. I wonder what's happening. The whole universe is just currently being illuminated for this to give you an idea of how vast these interactions and networks are. Because actually Earth is a part of what they want to manifest forth in other areas and other cultures. So I would like to just check all the universal star elders are here with us in this moment. And all human elders of the planet, internal, subsurface. Saying to them, remember when this all went wrong before? Absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah, it looks like it's a board of extraterrestrials down there, and they want dividends for their investments up on the ground. So I think
What do they
it's
get
what
out of it? Just going to ask them, what are they getting out of all this? They can't really do anything. What is it about preserving who you are, preserving culture, preserving race above all others? What is it? What is it? Help us to understand those here that don't know.
Well, I mean, what they're getting out of it is the promise of money and power.
Yeah. So let's have a look at how many times they've delivered as opposed to how many times they haven't delivered.
So you're looking to see how the government in Rwanda has sold out the country to the top bidders.
Basically.
Yeah.
uh, I'm getting the like the hollow earth, or I don't know, that substructure. There was a shift of management, but the previous management before the current one was cracking the whip on the guys who were on the service to make sure that every single agenda was implemented. And if failure to that, it was like it was a quick death for you. So I think these guys have the same imprint of fear, where they know the guys at the subservice level, they're not gonna take anything other than a total success of implementation of agendas here. So that's why they are using one of their major infrastructure that they use is the media and the social media, to make sure that they propagate this propaganda out there of how good they are, to make sure that it enters people in a kind of a subconscious level where they make these decisions
Yes.
without any resistance.
That's the one. So we're going to run that through the spiritual court of equity, but also adding in, God, Derek, I could see you just bursting.
No, what we're going to add is the previous genocide that took place, which basically is a huge sacrificial rite for what they're trying to implement now.
Thank you for saying that. That's just, it's the same thing all over again. That was literally just opening the doorway. Look how the people kill each other. This is quite sick stuff. They have a thirst for bloodshed, and the taste of blood. They would need it to survive in many different forms, not just ritualistic, but also personally, it seems, in some way, shape, or form.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, so I am just going to get those who are making those decisions right here, those 15. I want to bring them into the central part where we have superluminal source frequencies coming in. And everything that was inverted, everything good that was inverted, I'm inviting the 15 to uninvert right now. If they're so clever and they're so great, then reverse the lot instantaneously.
Well, it's reversals times 3. So there's one artificial layer upon another that they're starting to remove.
Brilliant.
And as I'm getting, the religion was one of the major things they used to implement the inversion. And this goes to the subculture and the spirituality different groups in Africa are practicing, where it was all put together and demonized, that it comes from Satan, and this is the religion that we have given you. So
yeah, the Orisha got a very bad rap from this lot.
Yes, but one needs to also take into consideration before they were there. Originally, the people that first settled in Rwanda were beautiful beings of light
Agreed.
that were actually taken over. So they're also present at the meeting, which is like the ancient elders that were there, the ancient elders of Mother Earth in Africa. So they all actually at the court of equity standing by. I also see a horrible creature with like a long golden coat, but not a human face at all, like a snout, like a bit like a crocodile that goes out. That's not happy about this, but there's nothing that he can do. He's leaving the meeting now. And we have just actually, the court has managed to save this country from future genocide. They're signing off that it's not going to happen. Their intentions there would have failed. They are failing. It's going to play out on a political, worldly level, but on the level that the court's working out, this is the done and dusted deal. It's over.
Brilliant. So I'm reminding the inverters that it just takes a few minutes and a bit of attention, speaking like a parent, parental advisory clinic, is that we're just going to make sure that all the souls that were affected by this level of programming through religion, through words, it's actually one of the core components of the transhumanist rollout agenda in this phase, as it was 2,000 years ago, as it was at various other points in the story where religion just literally took over and cultures died. So I just wanted to ensure that that takes place. I do see some of those lineages beginning to light up now. And this
all
is,
that
yeah.
All I was going to say, all that the religions did in Africa was wipe out natural time, wipe out, as far as they're concerned, the true history, the true knowledge, the true understanding of nature, and the connection to the earth. All got has been tried to be eradicated through the use of religion. So this is actually bringing in a false timeline energy.
Exactly. And then tomorrow would be the day where they would have attempted to solidify that and anchor it into this space reality.
And I think that was what was connected to the Pope coming to Africa, and it was cancelled by our great ancestors of Africa. So
Pope cancellation.
yeah, so I don't know, but I think they would try to plan something else, but there's a huge blockage that they're experiencing. So they have to find a way, and that's why the meeting was here, to try and go around the blockage that was here, to try and also appeal to these ancestors. Like, we are here coming for peace. These are the goodies we are bringing to the people. But they can't be fooled, because they can see beyond the veil and see what's what they really want.
Exactly. And there'll be elders that remember when they came before.
Yeah.
And look what happened then. So that's okay. You know, it is part of the natural healing process. You know, literally in this court, we're holding space for so many beings to let go and consolidate what has happened to them on this infinite journey. You know, the levels of war, suffering, suppression, killing, murder, genocide, you name it, you know, has taken place on this planet. And, you know, this is a way of us extending that out into the collective, to everyone that was connected and is alive here today, or dead actually, or has passed over to the other sides or realms. Now, I know that they're making progress because as I talk, I'm just continually checking in and feeding back what is going on. Now, I get that the percentage of clearing is somewhere around 45%. What are your thoughts?
Well, as you're speaking there, it's clearing very quickly now as well. I'm also just being told that the gorillas in Rwanda have been attuned to the energies and what is being taken place. And they themselves, as a species of higher light, and they're represented off planet, is going to be using sound technology. And they'll be working on the Cern project with their sound technology. So whatever they're hoping to, how should we put it? Whatever they're hoping the outcome will be tomorrow, it's going to be a slightly different outcome, because sound, natural organic sound technology provided by the gorilla beings is being used, which is being placed over their artificial timeline agendas. So the timelines using sound technology are going to be switched. So it should be very interesting.
So that's brilliant. What do the Time Lords say that they're going to do? And they might be some Time Lords out there that are just old, fat and lazy, don't want to do anything. Why should I? Because this is your planet you currently live upon. It looks bad, I'm going to say, in a very easy kind of way. It casts an aspersion on one's character about the level of action as opposed to no action. So those that do and help to create this and give their support to unity, peace on earth without infringement of artificial kind, that helps a soul to grow, an individual Time Lord soul to grow. And you might not think that you need to, but you do. Everybody does. And just
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's even if they're in that specific job role, it's like, come on then, step it up a level. Just saying, we're in these times. Let's focus on keeping those timelines clear and not just letting things veer off at the wayside into a complete oblivion that is unhealthy for all. I'm sure they want me to stop talking, which is quite normal. It's like, no, I spent a long time silent.
They're at 95% complete now.
Brilliant.
Everything that the court has done in this session is being recorded. So it will be there in the great big libraries, everything that's taking place in this court of equity. So it's not just like we're having a little chit chat here and nothing's recorded on a higher level. Everything's being recorded. All the information will be retained. And we're 100% correct in our accuracy with the information that we brought up in this particular talk, as concerned with Cern, as concerned with the gorillas using sound frequencies through their representatives off the earth, through animals also off earth as representatives to their different species on earth, assisting and helping. This is huge, and it's the unknown factor which these representatives gathered for their chats and for the signing of their future deals in Rwanda have not considered. It is more powerful than I can even mention right here. You don't want to take them on the different animal nations. They have real power, they have real authority, they do have a say, not just in this realm. They have a say in the universe and universal planning, otherwise they would not be here. So all things considered, the court's done fantastically well again. And the experiment and the sleeper cells that they were planning to bring into Rwanda, they can bring them in, but the experiment would have failed. The activation of those cells on a AI point of view would have failed as well, and the experimentation. What they are saying is that more work needs to be done under Rwanda itself, because it's a time link to other places, and because it's a timeline to a time link to other places, the guerrillas have managed to come through and make us aware of their usage of sound technology to shift timelines and different points.
Oh, I feel a reverb with you saying that. Brilliant. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Great.
yeah,
That's really
yeah,
good.
yeah, that's wonderful, because I'm also seeing I don't know whose ancestors they are, but they're here, they are like a drumming nation, and they are beating their own drums. It's like they're also emitting this sound frequency, and it's quite beautiful to hear those drummings going
Yes,
on.
because Harrison, also, you're always talking about the crocodile people, and you've got the beautiful crocodile people, but you've also got the crocodile people that have turned sides, and they're working on the dark side. And the dark crocodile beings, as these drums are being beaten, ain't happy at all.
There's always
That's
one
good.
unhappy crocodile somewhere.
Yeah.
So do we have complete agreement from the Time Lords that they're going to monitor and keep safe the time frequencies of Earth?
Yes, that's already done.
Brilliant. So they all agreed. That's good. It's positive. When you get light workers that can agree to do their guardianship roles that they were here to do, it's great. Sometimes when you're in that position, you get incredibly stuck and then thus are ineffective as a being.
I would just like to add here, we have also the energy of Metatron that's come into this particular court of equity, not that it hasn't been in the other courts of equity. He's placed the energy of the golden ball of peace in Rwanda. And you must know, when that energy from that golden ball of light and peace is placed in a certain place, what was to be, which could have been a burnt down jungle, is, how should we put it, is bypassed, and the jungle will be saved, and it will not have the desired outcome that the dark ones would have liked it to have. So that has been changed 100% in this court session.
Wonderful. That is very good news. So as a final note, what I would like to do is extend this resolution out to any and all that have connected with us today for the help of the mass resolution here on the planet Earth at the moment. And that's to really accept and surrender to everything that you were, everything that you are, and everything that you will be simultaneously. And that is our right to do that all. And I just want to send that message out to all in the spiritual courts of equity that we're here to do this together. And I just give thanks for every single input and support for the benefit of Earth today in the world of peace. Thank you. That's wonderful. Any last thoughts, guys?
No, we've done fantastically well in the session today. That's always full of surprises. And I just think it's incredible that we're putting out the Court of Equity's energy, bringing through the information for people to understand what is taking place. that even though a disastrous situation through Cern or through sleeper cells being shifted in shady, dodgy deals to Rwanda, the outcome doesn't have to be dark. That is the work of the Court of Equity, is to divert and stop what is being planned.
I would like to actually extend that statement out to every single living being on the planet who's had their journey interfered with by this system and the proponents of it, and that have been led along a completely different path than what their natural way should be on. So if you'd like a session, do get in contact, details below.
Yeah, it's quite a beautiful thing, because I'm keeping on seeing these African dancers, you know, drumming these huge drums going around, and it's like it's a kind of a frequency, and it's linking all the youth in a kind of a frequency where they will have this kind, I mean, their voice will be heard by the management that's placed on this great continent. Yeah.
It's wonderful, Harrison.
Oh, it gives me goosebumps. I was just thinking about the Cora and how many young storytellers that will listen to the vibration that comes from this clearing and be able to tune in their instruments and tell the stories all around the continent. Ooh, I hope for that. You know, beautiful. Right, so thank you very much, everybody. That's just
thank you.
And we'll be back in a couple of weeks for our next Africa innings, no doubt. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.